In today's episode of the Live Mindfully with Laurie Moore podcast, we are talking about a famous Buddhist parable that aims to assist us in managing our suffering more skillfully. It is called The Second Arrow. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome. It is so good to have you here. Let's kick off today with 3 deep breaths. So starting to relax the body, release the shoulders down, stretching through the neck. If your hands are available to you, just giving your vagus nerve on either side of your neck a little massage. Good. Now take a deep breath in. Allow the belly to move forward, creating space for the diaphragm to move down, which creates extra space at the bottom of the lungs. Now, as you gently exhale, pull the belly back toward the spine. This lifts the diaphragm and encourages the body to fully expel all of the breath that is in the lungs. Good. Now relax the belly. Allow the belly to move forward as you take another deep breath in through the nose. Draw that breath as low as it will go. And once again, gently pull the belly back and exhale. Good. One more time. Deep breath in. Relaxing the belly and gentle exhale. Draw the belly back toward the spine. Good. Okay, relax the body. So there is a very famous Buddhist saying, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And there is an equally well-known Buddhist parable called The Second Arrow. And it goes like this. Oh, and if you're wondering what a parable is a simple story used to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson. So the Buddhist once asked a student, if a person is struck by an arrow, is it painful? And the student replied, it is. The Buddha then asked, if the person is struck by a second arrow, is that even more painful? And the student again replied, it is. The Buddha then explained, in life, we cannot always control the first arrow. However, the second arrow is our reaction to the first. And with this second arrow comes the possibility of choice. The second arrow is the narrative that we then attach to the first arrow. So as an example, when I was 21, I was glassed in a pub. I had just finished opening night where I played Marilyn Monroe's character in The 7-Year Itch for an amateur theatre company in Cogra in New South Wales. The woman who glassed me was a 42-year-old mum of 5 who was out for a night on the town with her friends. And from what I found out from the police later on, she had been flirting with the bass player of the band until I arrived. And I probably got there at about 11. When she hit me in the head, she gave me a 2.5 centimetre cut above my left temple and subsequently a permanent reminder of the glassing. Now, the first arrow, her glassing me, for me, was unavoidable. I wasn't even aware she was in the pub. I wasn't aware that she had been flirting with the bass player. I wasn't even aware that when I arrived, he stopped flirting with her and had allegedly started flirting with me. I was in the pub for less than 30 minutes. And I was only there to have one celebratory champagne with a fellow castmate. But the story I attached to this incident, that's the second arrow. So I could decide that this permanent scar on my face has ruined how I look, that now no one will find me attractive. It doesn't matter if that's true or not. That's the story I could attach to it. I could, and I guarantee that at the time I wanted to, find this woman and glass her back because I found the whole thing entirely unfair and unjust. I could have allowed the incident to entirely cloud my thoughts for the next 2 days, or 2 weeks, or 20 years. That's the second arrow. The first arrow can have a lot of pain attached to it. And if the incident that causes the first arrow is extremely painful, like the loss of someone or something, then the second arrow is not the part where you are feeling your way through that pain. The second arrow is the story you attach to the incident. I like to think of this as the what if scenario. And first of all, playing the what if game never makes us feel better. Secondly, playing the what if game never changes the outcome. And third, the what ifs never end. And they can go both ways, which is why they are unhelpful, right? For example, I could say if I hadn't gone to the pub that night, I wouldn't have gotten glassed. But I can also say if she hadn't consumed too much alcohol, she wouldn't have glassed me. So it's not necessarily our fault when the first arrow hits. Now, you might say, if I had done X, then Y wouldn't have happened. And that part of self-reflection is okay when we're tying it to an incident as a factual matter. It helps us protect ourselves from the incident occurring again where we can, and that could be very helpful. But when you start to attach an emotional narrative to the incident, where in particular the only purpose is to place blame on yourself, then you are causing yourself unnecessary suffering. Particularly if you don't pull yourself up on it. And once we get lost in that whirlpool of suffering, it can be really hard to pull ourselves out. So spend some time today thinking about your first arrows and consider if you are in a habit of striking yourself with that second arrow. Maybe you're doing this right now with someone or something. Maybe right now you're going through an extremely painful event in your life and you're causing yourself further suffering with the what ifs and the emotional narrative that you're tying to that first arrow. Perhaps you can take a moment today to apply and reflect on the Buddhist parable. I think it's really important that we remember that pain is inevitable. We are human. Pain is a part of life. But suffering, especially how much we choose to suffer, this is optional. We can choose to accept that painful things happen, and we definitely need to process them. We need to feel the pain and allow the emotions that arise to arise and move through us. But we don't need to attach stories to those painful events that make our suffering worse. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Wherever you are in this wonderful world, have an amazing week. I think we are in for a heap of rain here on the southeast coast of Queensland, which is so great because we need it and I love rain. Until next week, take extra good care of yourself.